Joining us now, Steve Negron. He's running for Congress in New Hampshire's 2nd District, and he is in a 5-way Republican primary that will be decided on September 11th. Steve is trying to knock off the Democratic incumbent there, who they say has been engulfed in the swamp, and we'll be talking a little bit about that. But first, he's got to win the primary before he's going to, and whoever wins is going to have the chance to take on Ann Custer, who is the incumbent Democrat there. And she's got a pretty strong base there. It would be an underdog race for any Republican. But Steve Negron, coming from nowhere, getting all the Trump people, my old friends in New Hampshire, that some of the first Trump supporters in the country to come out and back him. And Steve is with us now for a few moments. Steve, great to have you back, man.
Good morning, John. Thank you for having me, sir.
Okay, why vote for Steve Negron? I mean, you have 4 other Republican opponents that want to take on Ann Custer. What makes you so sure if you're the candidate, you've got the best chance of winning? Why?
Absolutely. Well, when we talk about when I'm on the campaign trail, I tell people, what are the things that the president needs help with right now? So, just going down in order, we're looking at Korea, we're looking at Iran. I'm a nuclear guy, right? I'm an ICBM missile combat crew commander, so I understand the nuclear world very well. Not only wasn't I an operator, I taught it. I helped with policy on it, so I could step in day one and help the president with that. The other thing, too, is, the president has talked about how expensive it is to procure military equipment. And I'm a DoD certified acquisition level 3 program manager. That's the highest level certification you can have. And I can help the president within Congress say, you know what, this is not the way to do things. We have too many regulations. We're over-regulated. Takes too long, too costly, and having been on that side of the fence, I know exactly where I think that we could do some things that makes us more agile and more focused. And to complement that, John, I was also on industry side. So when I retired from the Air Force, I worked for large defense contractors like General Dynamics and Lockheed Martin. So I understand what motivates industry from that side of the fence. The third thing that I tell people is that I'm a small business owner. I write my name on both sides of the checks, and I believe that's a perspective that has to come to be able to understand what fiscal responsibility is, and I'm being lockstep with President Trump on what we're trying to do to reduce the debt and make ourselves better going forward. The fourth thing is, you've heard about Space Force. My last assignment in the Air Force was at Air Force Space Command, so I understand the space side very well, both when I was as an Air Force Space Command guy, but I also work with the Army Space and the Navy Space. And then lastly, I am the grandson of America. I speak the language fluently. I understand the plight of the immigrants, and to be able to step in and help them, to be able to dialogue with those people, I think gives me some things that nobody else in our race right now in the New Hampshire 2nd Congressional District have.
Live in Washington, D.C. with Steve Negron. Steve is a candidate for Congress from New Hampshire 2nd District. 5 Republicans vying to take on Ann Custer, who's going to be the favorite no matter who wins, but could be vulnerable if things turn the Republicans' way. Let me ask you this, Steve. Again, you're the only people I get on, Republican or Democrat, that talks about the national debt. But let's be candid here, okay? The president just signed a $717 billion defense authorization bill. Government spending continues to go up. This Trump administration is really not focused on cutting spending anywhere. That's obvious. And so when you say, look, I'm going to go to Congress and get the debt under control, yeah, whatever, okay. How the hell are you going to do that? How are you going to get this debt down?
Well, certainly I think that, having lived in that world, I understand where there are some areas that, we're not very good and we're not very focused on the budget. Having done Air Force budgets before, I understand where those areas are that we can cut. We're not very judicious with the money. There's a lot, in my opinion, there's a lot of
Steve,
areas we could be more focused.
Nothing gets cut. Nothing ever gets cut. We can have these conversations and they're all fun on the radio, and you go in a debate, you talk. I remember, you can go back to 76, Steve, 1976 campaign, Carter-Ford, right? Jimmy Carter campaigned on this new concept of zero-based budgeting. Look, I ran a peanut farm. I had to keep costs down. Every year when my execs sent me a budget, I would tear it up and throw it out and said, no, I want you to start over. Zero-based budgeting. Don't base it on what you did last year. Remember that? You probably don't remember, Steve.
Absolutely. I do. I absolutely
Jimmy Carter's zero-based budget. He got there. There was no zero-based budget. They laughed at him. It's like, what are you, crazy? We're not doing that. Everybody wants a 5% increase. So spending never gets cut. Well, so you get to Congress. what are you going to do? Jump up and down? Come on, man. It never gets cut.
It's the squeaky wheel, John, right? I mean, when you look at how efficiencies happen, and as a small business owner, we can talk about those things, but I think the problem is that, people who don't have an understanding of how you build that up, especially on the DOD side, I think that's something where you can go. I mean, there's only 79 guys in Congress that have military service, and probably very few of those that have on the acquisition side. So I think you need to be very surgical. I think you have to be very precise on what you're saying, and that when you can talk to people, especially at the acquisition arms of the services, when you can talk their language and understand what they're trying to say, I think you have a better set of tools in your tool bag to be able to push back on them and say, is that really what you're saying here? Because in my experience, it doesn't work that way. So I think I just bring a different tone and temperament to that and be able to then hold people, especially the services, accountable, because I've lived their life. I've walked the walk. I've been in those rooms where those decisions were made. And I think that's go and approach this issue of trying to reduce the debt.
Well, I have to give you this, Steve Negron. At least you're talking about it. No one else is. I mean, I think that our view in our network is that the only way you're going to bring this down in the short term is by growing your way out of it, by increasing revenues, by job creation and business creation to such an extent that they start overtaking the spending. But, wow, it's frustrating to be here in D.C., and nothing, Steve, is ever cut. So if you get elected to Congress, you're going to be my guy in D.C. to come on, and we're going to talk specifically about these budgets. And what
I'd love to. Absolutely. Because nobody, it's not easy, John. I mean, nobody's saying that this is something that somebody
Nobody
can
will do it. Nobody's got the backbone to do it. I know. Right? It's frustrating. I mean, for average people in America that have to live by a budget, if they're taking their family to a movie on a Saturday, they have to budget that out. Right?
Absolutely.
This federal government doesn't budget anything. They just spend whatever they want.
Right.
And it's incredible.
Right. She was very simple. She goes, you only have so many gazintas and so many gazadas. And it's that simple. And we have gotten accustomed to being able to say, Dad, I'll get the previous year's budget as a starting point. We have to fundamentally change that mindset. And if we don't, it's going to crush us. This debt is going to crush this country. To me, it's one of the biggest national security risks that we have, along with this illegal immigration. And I think we have to bring it to the table. And it's like whack-a-mole. No matter where you hit, I'm going to pop up some other place, and I'm going to still be speaking the same speak.
All right, Steve Negron. I really hope you win this primary. Now, look, you're here in our studio one time.
Yes, sir.
I think you're a great guy. And all of my New Hampshire friends are backing you, like every one of them. It's like the old 2015 Trump network getting back together in New Hampshire around the Steve Negron for Congress campaign. So September 11th, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
I guess I should probably come up to New Hampshire and do my show live at your
Come
headquarters.
On. We'll feed you. We'll take care of you. And I got to tell you, to your point, Bruce Breton, Fred Doucette have been nothing short of phenomenal when they see what this campaign can bring. And and I'm better for knowing them now. And so we're really excited about what's going to happen on September 11th.
All right, Steve. I know you got a shot at this primary. There's 4 other candidates in it. A couple of them are pretty formidable, but looks like you've got the momentum. Good luck. If people want to send you a donation, where do they go?
Sure, they can go to www.negron4congress.com and put out there, just a vote of confidence is great, but you can also donate that way on my page.
All right, man. Take care. Good luck.
Take care, John. Thank you so much.
John Fredericks Radio Network, Steve Negron running for Congress.